Hi, Diana here. This is part two of reaching out to classmates. This episode, we talk about reaching out to teachers and people who were adults at the time. So, if you haven't listened to the part one of this episode, go back and do that. It could be helpful. Okay, enjoy.
Diana, I got your number from your resume on LinkedIn. My name is Sarah, and I'm an old student of. And like you, we had a relationship. I don't know the circumstances of your relationship with him, but it concerns me to see his behavior continued long after I knew him. I'm curious if you would be willing to talk to me about your experience. If not, I respect that.
Sarah, I am at a loss of words, but also have so much to say. Yes, I would love to talk to you about this. Were you a student in Iowa? This is Diana.
This is Sarah.
And this is Blooming After Grooming, our podcast.
Did you reach out to any teachers, to any former teachers in your search?
I remember there was a teacher, well, she was a secretary, and her niece actually reached out to me. And I talked a little bit with her niece, who is a year younger than me. So when I graduated, she was a senior and I was not in high school anymore. And when I talked with her, she said, so she was sharing a little about her senior year. Senior would have been like 2008, 2009. And said that her and some classmates went through his phone. They went through his phone and confirmed their suspicions because they saw text messages between the two of us. So her aunt, I remember being like really suspicious and jealous and untrusting of her aunt because the way the teacher talked about her aunt, the secretary, he made it seem like she was like pining for him. Like she wanted to have coffee with him and she wanted to like go have a picnic with him and stuff like that. So of course, me
Yeah,
being
because
a
he's
19.
very pine worthy.
And in hindsight, like, I don't know, maybe that was her just trying to like get information from him. But at the time, I was 19 years old and maybe even still 18 and just being like, who is this lady? Why is she coming after my guy? And so she was someone that I remember I had wanted to reach out to. And so when her niece reached out to me, I was like, oh, okay, perfect. This, like, let me ask her niece if she can ask her aunt if we can have a conversation. So I ended up meeting up with her. We met at a park and like immediately after I saw her, like I felt like I just gave her a hug. Like I felt bad. I felt bad that like I had judged her because she was also, so she's Spanish speaking and she was often someone who would talk to like my parents, like not
Mhm.
often, but when calls had to be made, like she was the translator. And so like I knew of her. And again, there's just something to like seeing another Latina, that instantly gives me, especially someone older than me, like some comfort. So I gave her a hug and started crying and apologizing, and we started talking. And then, like, I kind of got the feeling that she was there to maybe put some of her feelings at ease
Mm.
because she kept saying things like, I left my kids alone with him. I let my
Mm.
kids go in the car with him. I let him come to my house. Like she was saying
Yeah.
all these, I don't know. I think it was an opportunity for both of us to let something out,
Yeah.
because I was telling her too, because she was asking me like for some details. I was telling her, well, he made me CDs. And she was like, well, he did that with me too. And he did that with everybody. Like, I don't know, just kind of felt like
Yeah.
it was getting to a point where she was trying to make excuses for him to kind of
Mhm.
calm herself about the fact that she trusted him so much, which
Yeah.
goes back to what you were saying of like, it's the people who are brainwashed, who are groomed, who are
Mhm.
parts of cults. It takes a long time to rewire your brain. And by the end of it, it felt a little like, I don't know. I don't know if this is helpful for either one of us. But she was
Sure.
the only adult that I had. I tried.
Mm.
There is an assistant principal who, when I was in high school, he was an assistant principal. And when I graduated, he was still the assistant principal. And he was good friends with the teacher. Like, so one thing that I always wondered about this secretary was, again, according to the teacher, somebody sent this assistant principal a flash drive or like left a voicemail or left some kind of clue saying, do not trust the teacher. And in my mind, I kind of always thought it was the secretary. And so I did ask her about it. I was like, do you remember
Mm.
anything like that? Was that you? And she didn't remember anything. But after that supposed voicemail or flash drive, this assistant principal did, I don't even want to call it an investigation because it was barely an investigation, but he called me and asked me if anything was happening. And of course, I said no. I said that we stayed in touch and that we started hanging out like after I graduated. Apparently, he called another student who was still, oh, no, I think she had graduated. So this must have been 2010. He called another student and that's it. And then he talked to the teacher. So he like talked to the accused and two former students and nobody else. But I thought about reaching out to him and I didn't, but I ended up talking to his secretary because she was his secretary from what I remember. But yeah, we will talk more. I do want to talk more about, okay, so there's a connection to that investigation because the other student that he talked to is someone who did reach out to me after the post. And what she told me was that I guess her name came up also. Her name came up again. I don't know if it was a flash drive or an email or a voicemail or whatever, but her name came up. So he called her and told her, asked her if she would be willing to come in. And she said she had to think about it. And then when she called him back to say, yes, I'll come in and talk to you, he had told her the matter's been settled.
What?
Or something like that. Yeah. Basically like, no, you don't need to anymore. That's it. We're good.
Which is
So,
ridiculous. It makes absolutely no fucking sense. It's like, why wouldn't
Which
you
makes
want to
no
talk to
sense.
them just to make sure that you cover all your bases? It's
Because
crazy.
he clearly wasn't doing a very good job. This is why when there are suspicions, do not let the school handle it. Like it should not be this one assistant principal doing this all on his own, talking to the person who is maybe being abused and the abuser and then like another kid. How does that so before you ask your question, which I know you want to, or a comment, this investigation, quote unquote investigation, never made it into the teacher's file. I learned that from the police investigation.
That's what I was going to say. So this is why knowing your school district's policies or your state mandated policies are really important because some states there is an investigation, it has to be reported to the state board and it has to kind of go up the line, right? In some states, it's not. In some states, it is mandatory that any kind of investigation be documented and kept in that employee's record, even if you find out through your investigation that you couldn't find enough evidence to, remove this person from employment. Some states, it is not. So it is really important to know what's going on because, yes, we learned along the way that, in his case at least, wasn't documented. And I've asked that of other school districts that I've talked to through this process of like, okay, do you keep records? And I've had people be like, well, it was unfounded. And it's like, okay, but if you have, say over the span of 10 years, you have 4 different reports about a teacher having misconduct, any kind, bullying, abuse, sexual, physical, whatever it could be. There's a lot of things people can do, not just sexual abuse. But don't you think that if you were keeping track of that and you were documenting it, even if, the first 3 did not have enough evidence that you could fire that person or remove them from your school district, that by the 4th time, you would maybe know you have a fucking problem on your hands? And I just remember the superintendent that I was talking to just kind of going like, oh, and it's like, Jesus Christ. But at the same time, like these people are not investigators. They're not police. Like that's not how their brains work. Like they are literally like trying to worry about budget and how to pay for the teachers and how to keep their teachers because teachers get paid shit and don't have great benefits and how to get enough coverage for their special needs kids and how are they going to pay for school lunches now? Like they're not thinking about how to do a strategic criminal investigation. Like that's not, they're not
Which
trained
is why they should not be doing that.
No. I mean, poor public schools. They should not have to be doing a lot of the things that they have to do. But this is a very good example of how reasonable expectations upon public schools lead to some pretty terrible shit falling through the cracks, because you've got people that they're overworked, they're underfunded, they got 1,000 fucking irons in the fire. They're looking up to the state to tell them what best practices are. But if the state doesn't have their shit together, those best practices are not being forced down their throat. And so they're not doing it. So it's like, there's just a lot of more that could be getting done and could be being done in a much better way. Cause yeah, it's crazy when we found out that they hadn't had documentation of an official investigation into him dating a former student.
Exactly. Yeah, that was very, very disappointing and infuriating to find out in the police investigation, even more so because we know, and we've mentioned this before, that his first year, the first year that school opened, he had a complaint from a student who we've met who, had the first year. She said, this guy made me uncomfortable. This is a problem. And she was not taken seriously. Yeah. So if that had been documented, if this phony investigation in 2010 or 2011 had been documented, that all of that shows a trail, a pattern. It matters.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I never got to see my school's records on him because so I had to contact my school mostly to have them share their employment records with the Illinois investigators, to prove that he worked there, right? To corroborate the timelines of when I was going to school there and all that kind of stuff. But then if they had any documentation of any investigations or reports into him while he was at my school here in Iowa, but I was not privy to that report because there was no criminal charges or anything happening in our state. I don't know if there was anything in it, but I highly doubt it because there was no official investigation that I'm aware of into what happened with me at that school. Even though I was asked to come back to the school the winter of my freshman or sophomore. We weren't together anymore. I had broken things off with him. I think he was still at the school. So it would have been my freshman year. I guess it would have been spring then. And I remember my art teacher asking me, well, who broke up with who? And it coming off very like she just wanted to gossip about it. And even at the time, I was kind of like, bitch, like, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? I'm not talking to you. I didn't really like you when you were my teacher, and I'm definitely not going to talk to you about my breakup. And now, as an adult, I look back and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, she knew, and he was still in that building. Was there any documentation, you know what I mean, anywhere within his file? Or was the school just being kind of like, oh, well, she's graduated. That's none of our business. We can't do anything about it. I don't know. It's just so weird to look back at it. And I've tried to find that art teacher, many times in the last few years. And she is like a ghost. I don't know if she literally has passed away. Like, I cannot find her. Like, and I went into like the Iowa board and found her teaching license number and was like trying to fucking track this woman down. And like, she ceased to exist. Cause I've always been very curious about when she found out and how she found out and who was talking about it. Because to me, that tells me that the staff all knew at some point that last year he had in Iowa. Cause then he went to Illinois the very next year, which again would make sense. That he'd be like, I got to get the fuck out of here because they all know that I dated this former student. Tried to find her. I did touch base with my science teacher and my special education teacher because again, I'm dyslexic and have ADHD. So I spent a lot of time in his classroom. And then I think my home economics teacher. So like I did talk to quite a few of my
Wow.
teachers. Yeah. And like all of those conversations were really wonderful, honestly. And like super like fabulous and healing and fantastic. Like none of the teachers that I talked to had any clue. Like they were like, I never heard anything. I never saw anything. I didn't even know like after the fact, like this is news to me. I didn't know this. Right. They all were just like, if I had known, I would have said something. Like if I had seen something, I would have turned him in. Like, I'm so sorry this happened to you. I'm so sorry I didn't see it. Which again is like all we ever want to hear. Like, own it, apologize, you better move forward. That's all any of us can do. And so I really enjoyed the conversations I had with the teachers that I was able to contact and who were willing to talk to me. And I think that says a lot. I think maybe the people who did know weren't willing to talk to me because they had some guilt that they didn't want to have to face. It's a lot easier to talk to somebody when you like don't have anything to feel bad about. But yeah, it's been pretty cool. And actually my special ed teacher, we like still email each other like once every like 6 months or something. Like we're really bad at getting back to each other. So it'll be like 8 months later, he'll respond to my email from 8 months earlier. It's been really nice to just kind of reconnect with some of those people. And I've updated them like, oh, this happened with the case or that happened with the case. And yeah, it's just been really nice to talk to people that were like, yeah, I remember you. I remember who you were when you were 16, and I remember who you were at 17, and you were this great, vivacious, wacky kid, and I'm sorry this thing happened to you, and I'm very proud of you. And yeah, so as hard
That's
as all
really
those
nice.
thank you. Yeah, it was. As hard as those conversations were, I'm really glad that I did them. And now I think I'm Facebook friends with my old science teacher. And like when I started processing all my trauma through my art, he would like comment on stuff and be like, I remember you. Like when I had like pictures of
Oh,
myself when I was in high school, and he's like, I remember her. Like, oh, like it's just really sweet, I guess, to just feel, even though it's after the fact, I still think there's a comfort and a safety to the sensation of being protected and cared about by the people who were adults, and they're doing it correctly and they're doing it safely. Like still feels good as an almost 40-year-old woman to have those people that would have protected me at the time had they known, caring about me now has been very like awesome and a very healing experience, I guess.
that makes me very happy. That's very sweet. And reaching out to former classmates is one thing, but reaching out to former teachers,
Oh, girl, I was
that's
like, I would literally have talked to anybody. At one point, I was literally like, can I figure out who owned his apartment building at the time and see if
oh my
like
God.
the owner remembers seeing me there? I mean, I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
Oh
I will
God.
talk to anyone.
You are truly Detective Sarah's daughter.
It's true. I was willing and ready to go anywhere to find evidence to
Yeah.
prove what happened to us happened and have that piece of shit held accountable. In the end, I ended up having 5 of my classmates make written statements about either witnessing unsavory or unprofessional conduct towards me, and in one case, questionable misconduct towards, well, actually 2 of them, misconduct towards them themselves. The former student statement Word file that I'm looking at right now, well, because I submitted them to Iowa as well, because I was like, I don't give a
Yeah.
fuck. I was like, I'll tell everybody everything. And then we also sent these to the third party investigator in Illinois. So your former classmates' statements were
That
also
I
sent
remember
to them.
that.
I also sent the Illinois students' statements to Iowa because I was like, whether or not you can use this, I do not care. I will give you everything. Like if knowing his blood type will be helpful to you, motherfucker, I would have figured it out. Like yes, I was more than willing. So I think it was 5 from Iowa, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 from Illinois, not counting you.
Who wrote like emails or letters or something?
Formal
Statements.
statements about, misconduct or seeing stuff happen between you and him or experiencing weird shit. We had a lot of former students come forward who were willing to make statements and tell their story, which I think also was really impactful to the investigators.
Can we go back to teachers for just a little bit, or educators for a little bit? So apart from the secretary who I reached out to and the assistant principal who I'd wanted to reach out to, and the only reason I didn't is because I was waiting for the school investigator to interview him and I didn't want to like influence anything. There were definitely like teachers or staff who as I was thinking about my experience in high school, like my social worker, for example, I went to the counseling office a lot in high school. I've known since I was a kid that like I got depression and some of the anxiety and various other things. But at the time, I spent a lot of time talking to the social worker. And there came a point, I was in her office one day and I was telling her that I was getting ready to like get on birth control and talking about like having sex with someone. And she immediately, her demeanor changed. She started like wringing her hands, all nervous, and see like her lips shaking a little bit. And all she said to me was, I can't keep everything between us, right? And at that moment, like I knew that she knew who I was talking about. Um, and I lied and said it was like someone, my sister's like friend or something, because my sister's 3 years older than me. But she's someone who I thought a lot about. And she also saw us. She saw me and the teacher after I graduated, maybe like 3 years. Yeah, because we didn't go out for like the first 4 years. So yeah, it had been 4 years after I graduated, and she saw us in public at a restaurant and looked so uncomfortable, and I
Hmm.
had always wondered, like, what she was thinking,
Yeah.
was she thinking back to that meeting in her office, or, like, was she thinking to herself, "Damn, like, I knew the whole time." I didn't reach out to her either. And yeah, I've thought a lot about some of the other teachers in my life, especially in high school. And I know I talked about like my sociology teacher before, who had like a similar assignment as the teacher with like
Hmm.
bringing in a class or a song to the class and everything. I think about those moments too of, teachers who were being good teachers and adults who were just doing their job, because I don't I don't have the same kind of experience as far as like all this time later being able to talk to adults who knew me at the time, to teachers, to staff who can or have been able to say some of the positive things that you've heard. So for me, it does help to like look back and think about the teachers who were, I think, doing a good job. And there was one teacher in particular. So in my junior year, I shared that I was president of the Peace and Social Justice Club,
So cute.
and thanks. It was a big club, and then eventually it was just me. It was just me.
You must have done a great job leading.
I guess I did not, because then it was just me and the faculty, the teacher, who was a male teacher. And I remember he was like one of the cool teachers. He wore like tennis shoes and rolled up his shirt to like his elbows and like spiked his hair, and he was like tall and kind of nerdy. And I really liked him. And he was dating the history teacher, who was super cool. So they were like little justice warriors together. But I remember I came to Peace and Social Justice Club after school one day, and he was like, there's no one else here, and I think you should probably just go home. And I remember being like, well, I'm here. I'll still do it. Like, I don't care. Like, I just, not understand what he was trying to say,
Yeah.
and just being like, well, I'm committed and I'm going to do it. And he's like, yeah, I understand that. But one, it's not fair for you to do it all yourself. Also, I should not be here alone with you. Like, he said something
Yeah.
along those lines that I
Setting a
understood, like, oh,
boundary.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, setting a boundary. And I got it. Like, he didn't have to say, like, oh, the optics of it don't look good. Like,
Yeah.
him just saying in his own way, like, it's not appropriate for you to be here alone with me.
Yeah.
I mean,
This
that was
isn't safe
sadly,
for either one of us, essentially.
yes, yes. Sadly, that was the end of Peace and Social Justice Club. But that is a memory that I have, and that like kind of came back to me all of these years later of, oh yeah, he was setting a boundary.
Yeah. And
And
also how simple and easy that was. Right. And that if our abuser, that teacher, hadn't been the creepzoid that he is, that's all he ever had to say.
mhm.
It's not appropriate that you're showing up my apartment. It's not appropriate that you're in my classroom alone. It's not appropriate that you're texting me or calling me or trying to instant message me on AOL or whatever the thing was at the time. But he never set boundaries. Like, he had no interest in it because it was rubbing his ego. And that's all he ever wanted, was to just use us and use the other kids and use his job as a way to make himself feel better about himself because he has low fucking self-esteem. Like, sadly, that's all it is. Like, I truly believe it. Like, that's all it ever has been, is just a sad little person who doesn't like themselves and uses other people to build themselves up and tears other people down to build himself up. And how, yeah, I think it's a great example for you to have that reference point of how easy it should have been for a normal, healthy adult to just be like, you got to get out of my room, little lady. Like, you got to go. This is not good for anybody. Let's get out of here, you know? Yeah. It is weird to look back at some of those lack of boundaries. And well, I'm glad that you had good teachers as well. And I would also like to say, I also had good teachers. I had teachers that were very good with boundaries and cared about kids.
Yeah. So going back to what you were trying to say is, yes, we did have former classmates write statements of support for both investigations that were starting to take place. So, and Sarah, you certainly can speak more to this, but I feel like Iowa moved pretty fast, and by September, things were happening. Am I right
So
about that?
I contacted them reporting the misconduct in August. By September, they had decided to officially open an investigation. And then that investigation took until I think June or July to be finished. But yeah, within a month had said, "Yep, you have enough evidence or enough story." I don't know what the measuring stick is for them to take a case, because again, listed on their website, the statute of limitation for their investigations I think was 3 years. We're talking 17 years out or something at that point. So them saying that they were willing to do an investigation was a pretty big deal, because there was a big chance that they were just going to say, who cares? Because he wasn't even, because also wasn't actively teaching in Iowa.
Yeah.
His Iowa teaching license had expired. So like really, Iowa didn't have a hell of an incentive to do this investigation, except for, and I think I put it in my report of, he's from this, he's from Iowa at the time. He still had family living in Iowa. If he were to lose his job in Illinois due to the investigation happening there is a high probability that he would return to Iowa because he has roots here. It's where he went to college. And so I think I really kind of prompted that of like, there is a chance this guy is going to come back. And so I think that's probably the only reason. I mean, I'm speculating, but I would assume that's the only reason they did the investigation, because he didn't live there. His license had lapsed and it was past their statute of limitation, but they still digged into it. So thank you, Iowa Board of Educational Examiners.
And I admit and I apologize for my implicit bias against the state, but I was so surprised when you told me that they were taking the case, they were going to investigate. And because at this point we had sent the letters, we had gotten the call from the superintendent, but there wasn't anything else happening in Illinois. And so just to hear that news from you from Iowa was incredible. And the last thing that I was expecting, because same kind of thing. I was like, first of all, sorry, but it's Iowa. Also, the fact that he hadn't been there, like he hadn't taught there in almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Like why would they go back, to check?
He left in 2005. This was 2022.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
I was shocked. So thank you again, Iowa Board of Education Examiners. I believe Illinois. I know I would not have gotten as far.
No. Honestly,
without you, Sarah. No.
We owe everything to their determination. I truly believe it. And we can get more into their determination later on. But it didn't feel fast while it was happening. I will say that. Their investigation did not feel swift while it was happening, but it was less than a year from report to that. They opened the investigation in September and they had a determination by June or July. So it felt like dragging ass while we were in it. But looking back at it, I'm like, well, it's less than a year. I don't know how fast the wheels of justice are supposed to turn, but from what I've heard from everyone and our experience is very slowly is the answer to that question.
Sure did. And I guess next time we can get into the quote unquote third party investigation that took place and how that felt like it took forever. Anything else about reaching out to former classmates and teachers and whatnot?
No, I'm just curious, Diana, when you want to read the email where one of his childhood friends reached out to us.
Right now, because that happened at the end of August.
Do it!
So Sarah and I both got a Facebook message from an old friend of the teacher. So it says, Diana, you don't know me. My name is Beep and I live in Beep. I am contacting you today in a way that may feel intrusive, and for that, I immediately apologize in advance. I will also absolutely understand if you delete this message and move on with your life, which I hope is full of healing and joy. I have been friends with the teacher since I was 16 and working at a place in Iowa.
Good job.
Thank you. In disclosure, he and I have been talking off and on for the last few years, and I am aware of the current events. But all I know is his version of the story. Needless to say, I also recently discovered that he has perhaps not seen the situation in the same way that you feel or experienced. I also know of his previous student from Iowa. I will also be reaching out to her in the same manner. I was wondering if you would be willing and able to share your version of the events and experience with me. I know I'm not getting the whole story from the side presented to me, but I'm also struggling with cutting off a person I have known for more than 25 years without getting a more complete understanding. In his version, he is a moron who dated former students, but he doesn't see himself as a predator. Right now, the only voice in my head about this is his, and I know that is a flawed perspective. I honor and understand whatever response you feel is appropriate, even if that is to tell me to bugger off. If you're available, we can certainly communicate. Da 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 da. With gratitude and grace. Beep.
I found my response.
Oh, Sarah.
Okay. So also, I don't know why, but her saying bugger off is annoying because it feels like some shit he would have said, and it ticked me off.
Yeah.
I wrote back, I am concerned with how you got my name because it isn't listed anywhere on public documents concerning blank. At that point, it wasn't. Now it is. This leads me to believe that the teacher gave you my name and Diana's name, which is yet another violation by him, and you're reaching out to us honestly has been upsetting to me. You have reached out to a sexual abuse victim asking that I prove to you what he did to me so that you can decide if you should be friends with him or not. ... This is not my job. And it is unfair that you ask that of me. I don't know what you expect me to say. I know he sexually assaulted me. I don't owe you details of my abuse, and I am sorry you are having a moral crisis about what to do with your relationship with him, but it is neither my business nor my problem. I have worked tirelessly for over 1.5 years to have blank held responsible for his actions and protect students from him. I filed a report with the Iowa Board of Educational Examiners detailing what he did to me while I was still his student. Without contacting either of us and getting info from anyone else, he's admitted to you that he slept with at least 2 students, both of whom he is over a decade older than, right after they graduated high school. I see that you are a teacher yourself. It is disheartening to me that you need more validation, proof, or confirmation of what a predator he is than that. Please do not ever contact me ever again. And then that bitch contacted me back like 2 days later. My apologies. I wasn't intending to ask you to prove anything. I do believe you. Bitch, then why are you contacting us?
Why are you saying, please tell me your side of the story?
Yeah. No, you just feel like a dick because I fucking called you out for being a dick.
Yeah.
As far as your name, I knew about Diana and saw your post on her page, and I pieced things together. I apologize and will not contact you further. And then I blocked her fucking ass. Like, ah!
I fucking love your response. It was so perfect. And I think you gave her more than she even deserved. But I hope she felt like an asshole because
I hope she felt like the biggest piece of shit ever after doing that. Like, it was the most, I don't know, dude. It was so disturbing. And yeah, like, if you are also a teacher, what more proof do you need than to hear your quote unquote friend who's also a teacher say, oh, I'm just a dummy that dated 2 former students? Like, you should know better. You know that that's wrong. You know that that person is doing fucked up stuff. Hot tip, listeners, don't reach out to abuse survivors and ask them to prove to you happened to them so you can decide whether or not to continue to be friends with their abuser. Like, what a fucking insane thing. What did you write back to her?
Oh, not that. I was, I think, much more gentle.
Which is so funny. It was a real personality flip-flop. I feel like you are usually the one that's like coming in hot, and I'm the one that's like, well, let's give it some thought. And I ripped that lady. Actually, it's more polite than I remembered it being, my response. Like, inside, I was just spitting acid in her general direction.
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I said, hello. I think I'm open to talking, but I need to think on it more. I can appreciate your need to know the other side, and I am more than willing to talk about my experience openly to mostly anyone. Where I'm getting hung up on is feeling like I need to convince someone about my truth. Not that I'm saying that's what you're doing, but I'm being honest about how this is sitting with me currently. I'll reach out again soon. Thank you for caring enough to ask rather than simply assume. I appreciate that.
Oh, you were so much nicer than me.
Yes.
Oh, I was so mad. Oh, I was so mad. Did you ever talk anymore to her?
No, she responded, said something after that, like, please take whatever time you need. I deeply appreciate your consideration. You have nothing to prove, and I'm grateful for your time. And then I responded a month later and said, hi, thanks for giving me some space and time. I'm open to talking more with you. I'm not interested in this conversation turning into me proving something to you, if that makes sense. And then she said, thank you. I appreciate that. However, as I've been doing some examination and exploring my experiences and conversations with that person at the center of this, I have decided to cut them out of my life. As I stepped back to look, there were a lot of elements that weren't sitting right, and that with some additional time and reflection made the situation more clear. Please do not let me disrupt your life any further.
She's like, also, Sarah
that was
yelled
it.
at me.
I'd like to think that she heard you. I like to think that she was like, oh shit, yeah, I'm fucking up here.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not like I said, like, I didn't call her names or like insult her personally. I just said, like, dude, what are you doing? Essentially, like, what do you think you're doing by contacting me? And then you're trying to say you're not asking me to prove anything, but that's literally what you're asking both of us to do. And who the fuck are you? Like, I don't owe you anything. I don't, you're not the police. You're not the Iowa board. You're not a representative of a school district. Sorry that this person you thought that you knew turned out to be a creepazoid, but like, that's not my job to help you process that. Go talk to your therapist. Go talk to your friends. Go talk to him. Go have the uncomfortable conversation with him, not me.
Yeah. And let him know, hey, I feel like you're not telling me everything.
Oh God, I hope. I hope that she actually did have a confrontational conversation with him, but I don't know. I'm sure she just phased him out or something, or just ghosted him. But she's out there, never hears this. And if you ever sent a nasty email to him, let us know. I would be delighted to read it now, like you telling him to fuck off. But because it would be really messed up, right? Like if you knew somebody, I guess that's where I couldn't wrap my head around it. It's like if somebody contacted me and said, one of my classmates that I've known since I was 5, this person that you thought you knew, and this is what they did, and these are the accusations being made against them, my instinct would never be to reach out to the people accusing that person and ask for their side of the story to help me decide whether or not I should be a friend with them. It's like some 12-year-old behavior. Like, it's really immature. It's really strange. And then it also disturbed me that person was also a teacher. And it's like, dude, you know better than most that this is red flag city and that this person is not okay and this person should not be around kids. Even if his lie were the truth, which was that he dated us after our graduation, that's still fucked up and you should not be hanging around that person.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyways, yeah, for one, that was a very good example of Diana and Sarah having a real Freaky Friday personality swap.
Yeah. So when we went digging, we came up with some nuggets of information. Yeah. And they were helpful, but also challenging. I don't know if any of the former classmates, now adults, are listening, but if you are, thank you again for reaching out and sharing some of your experiences with the teacher.
I think it's a good thing to recap of, like, we really had to ask a lot of other people to join us in a lot of uncomfortable spaces to collect information and evidence. And I think we were very lucky that so many people around both of us were willing to do that and were willing to make statements and were eager and willing to help us if they could. And we are eternally grateful for all of the help that we got from our communities.
Thank you for listening. As always, sweet, sweet listeners.
We have an Instagram account. We have a website. You can contact us through Instagram. You can message us through our website. We have a contact us form. You can email us. We have a TikTok account now. Tickety talk, and you don't stop. I don't know how to TikTok. I am running it. I am old.
What's the name of the TikTok?
Blooming After Pod. I'm about 90%
consistent.
Sure. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. Is you're supposed to keep it consistent.
What homework do we want to give out today?
Oh shit, I think I did the last one.
You did. Fuck, I was hoping you wouldn't remember that.
Maybe the homework, I know, based off the conversation we had today, Maybe the homework is reconnect with an old friend.
I was going to say the same thing.
Aw.
So let's do that.
Yeah.
Reconnect with an old friend. Even if it's just a, hey, pal, thinking of you. Hope life is good.
You don't have to trauma dump on them like we did.
No, exactly. Yeah. Another one that I was kind of thinking of, and I guess choose your own adventure, right? If you want to reconnect with an old friend, that's an option. Something that I think I might do, which I've been wanting to do for a while now, but keep putting it off, is reach out to someone who maybe you could have stepped in to defend them from a bully, or maybe you were that bully, or someone who maybe you feel like you can make some kind of amends without the expectation that they have to forgive you.
Yep.
That's important, right?
Mhm.
But I know there's like at least 2 people I'm thinking of that I'm like, damn, I'm sorry I kind of left you hanging there. And I've thought about reaching out to them. And now this might be the push that I need to do that. So either one of those options, listeners, if you'd like to participate.
Yeah, because as we always say, or I feel like I've said before, we are all villains in someone's story. And I think it's a good thing to remember. We're not trying to say we're perfect. We're not trying to say we have ever done all the right things. So yeah, let's all do better. Learn and do better. And yeah, reach out to somebody, reconnect, own some of your old shit, make some amends. Could be healing for all involved.
Keep on blooming. Keep the blooming on.
Go bloom yourself.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I haven't seen it yet.
I belched and then you started coughing. Sexy.